It has to do with the legal description of your property. How one describes the property legally. Well, when it comes to legal description, there are three methods of doing so. And the first of the three is called the meets and bounds method of legal description, also known as the surveyor's method. That's what it's known as, the most accurate. The second is called the government rectangular survey system, which is a grid system, which we have in the state of Florida. And third is called the lot and block plan, and only for platted subdivisions, the lot number and block number. So those are the three methods we describe real property in this country and in the state also. So when it comes to the meets and bounds method of legal description, it is based on, also known as the surveyor's method, and is the most accurate. It's based on a compass, and the compass has directions. Let me go to the whiteboard here. Slide on. That's what a compass. Where that surveyor goes out there and put a transit, and when you see a surveying crew, the surveying crew, they're made up of two people. The surveyor himself or herself, and you have the helper. So what the surveyor does, goes and parks the transit, that tripod, on a survey marker. Across the country, there are survey markers at 0 point. That's where the surveyor knows, here, I'm putting my marker here, and from this point, I'm going to identify where the property is. It's called a point of beginning. And what the surveyor is holding in that tripod, it's called a transit. And a transit is like a compass. And the person who's going to go and find a point of beginning is the one that has the rod. And the surveyor is going to direct that person to go to that point where the property line starts. It's called a point of beginning, the most critical point of the meets and bounds method. So, that transit is like a compass. Compass. And the compass has directions. North, south, east, west. Those are the four directions of a compass. And in the meets and bounds method of legal description, it's here properly, you see it. North is always 0 degrees. And south is always 0 degrees. See that we have some time around this time, and this is my entertainment for you to entertain me, right? Because you're full of knowledge now, and you're high school graduates. Okay, high school graduates. Why when you hold a compass, it goes true north 0, true south 0? Why? Come on, high school graduates. See, I have to take you back to the foundation of how we describe property. Think of it. You're hovering in space, and you own this piece of land on this earth, right? How do you describe your property? Where your boundary lines are. That you say that I have all the rights. Those rights we talk about in chapter 8. And that document called a deed, where your rights are. How do you describe your property? Think of it. You have to describe it accurately. Like your car. What's the most important description of your car?
Color.
No.
Make and model.
Your VIN number.
Oh, that is talking about.
The most important information in your car is your VIN number. Every car has that one number and it's identical to that car. That's when the repo guy comes to repo a car, what's the first thing he or she has to do? In the car. Now get your address. Give us your address. I'm looking for your car. And the first thing I'll do is to look at your VIN number. And if I pick up the wrong car, they can charge me with what? Theft. Same thing here. If I sell you the wrong property, they charge me with what? The F word. Fraud. Now you're getting it. So when we prepare those documents convey ownership, it has to be accurate. And if it's not accurate, basically we're selling the wrong property. So how are you going to convey ownership and how are you going to describe your property? Where your boundary lines are, where you can put your fence, where you can deny people access. It has to be accurate. So we use a compass. And how we describe your property, you learn this in high school from the foundation. The earth is round. Remember that? The earth is round. So if the earth is round, and you know the earth rotates one circumference every 24 hours. One circumference every 24 hours. So what the land surveyor did, like the olden days, how we get around the earth, right? How Christopher Columbus get around the earth? You guys learn that stuff, right? How Christopher Columbus get around the earth? Right? By looking at the stars. Looking at the stars. Just like the 3 wise men get around to Bethlehem. How do you look at it? What star to look at? The North Star. There you go. Give you history now. Right? Look at the North Star. Right? That's where the 0 point is. 0 point is always north. And the opposites of north is? That's where your 0 points are. Because the earth rotates on an axis. It goes from north to south. Goes from north to south. Every 24, one circumference every 24 hours. Gravitational pull. Rotates around the sun. That's why the sun rises in the and sets in the. Now you get history. Now you can describe your property. So if I have these 2 0 points, and what the surveyor did, they divide the earth into 4 parts, right? And these 4 parts are known as quadrants. So the quadrants. So in high school again, getting back to your high school education, you learn in geometry, remember that subject matter? Called geometry. If you have a vertical line that intersects a horizontal line, what angle is formed? A 90-degree angle. And you know the circumference of a circle is 360 degrees. Very good. So these are all 90 degrees. That's what they call quadrants. Quadrants means a quad, 4. They're all 90 degrees. So your examiners in your exam is going to ask you a question. You're plotting the direction, starting 0 north. And you're going to somewhere here, 50 degrees. This is north, 50 degrees west. And you draw a line directly through the center of the circle. And your examiner is going to ask you, what is the description of the opposite direction? So this 50 degrees is the same. If these are 90-degree quadrants, 50 here is the same as 50 here. North becomes, west becomes. Your examiners is not going to test you where to go and how to get there. You know, some of us are totally directionally challenged. We have no clue where we're going. And thank God for GPSs. And even when the GPS says to turn somewhere, we do the opposite way. Because we don't know for left or right sometimes. So, seeing that you understand the concept, let's go to page 8. Let's look at question 406. Question 406. Some of you, I told you this already with my class. Question 406, what's the answer? There you go. And that is on your state exam, by the way. That same question. That simple question on your state exam. We answered that just now. Let's go to question 611. Question 611. So always remember, the degree doesn't change. Whatever the question, the degree the question is, doesn't change. Only the direction changes. So if you give you north, you look for the opposite is south. And he gives you the opposite of west is east. So that's how the degree doesn't change. Degree is the same because they're all 90-degree quadrants. So whatever the opposite is, got to be the degree the same side. But the direction changes. Now, what is the direction? Starting 0 south. And I'm going to 90 degrees west. I'm here. And the question says, what line am I on if I'm in this point? What's this line called?
Baseline.
No, it's not baseline. Think directionally. See, you guys are lacking direction. It's called the west-east line. You're going from west to east. If I'm plotting direction 0 south, going to 90 degrees east. What's this line? It's called the east-west line. There you go. It's all directional. I'm going from east to west. Always remember that when it comes to directions, you never start east or west. You always start north or south. Those are your 0 points. So when they build cities and they build roads, that's how they do it, and they give directions. Always from north or south, then you go east or west. Because the earth functions that way. That's how the earth rotates. The 0 points of the earth. The gravitational pull of the sun goes this way. Right? How do you describe your property? Well, that's the way we describe your property. That's a good question. Answer to that question. I'm here. You always look at the direction after the degree. And then you know where you're going. So if I'm at 90 degrees east, what line am I on? East-west line. If it says 90 degrees west, I'm on the west-east line. The end description is where the direction is. Right? The end description. And that's how we then give directions. And that's how we do the meets and bounds method. North or south, east or west. And you go to the 0 point of the transit. And then we start with the point of beginning. Then we plot around the perimeter of the land. and document it. Meets refers to distance, bounds refer to angles or direction. Meets, distance, bounds, angles or direction. And that's how land surveyors do it, and the most accurate method. Then we have the government survey method. The method we use in the state, along with the meets and bounds method. Figures out. The government rectangular survey method. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the private land surveyors did the same thing, it's the same concept as the meets and bounds, but somewhat different in how they describe the property. What they did in the state of Florida, they went through the state and they drew an imaginary north-south line. Always start with north and south. This is 0 points. North and south. Or from north to south. That's how they start. And this north-south line is known as the principal meridian. There's only one. There's only one principal meridian, which runs from north to south. That's the U.S. Army Corps did. They do that main north-south line. Then east and west of this main north-south line, every 6 miles, they decide to basically draw imaginary north-south lines. And this imaginary north-south lines class, they're known as, wow, you guys are full of knowledge. They're known as meridians. They're known as meridians. And what they did, between every meridian, this vertical 6-mile strip of land, what's it called? It's called a range. And they're numbered consecutively by direction. So going this way, this would be range 1 east, range 2 east, range 3 east, range 4 east. Going this way, range 1 west, range 2 west, range 3 west, range 4 west, and so on, right through the state. So that's the U.S. Army Corps did. They create these ranges as a result of this imaginary north-south line called the principal meridian, and all these meridians going east and west. U.S. Army going to say, okay, we have this ranges now. They're going to draw this another imaginary east-west line. So that's a baseline. That's a baseline. These two lines intersect in Tallahassee. That's where all the legal descriptions come from. Somebody you answer, I say, okay, I have my baseline. Now I'm going to go north and south to the baseline and draw these imaginary east-west lines every 6 miles. And these imaginary east-west lines are called what lines, class? All tear lines, or township lines. Imaginary, can't see them. And they number these 6 miles horizontal strip of land, and these 6 miles horizontal strip of land are called, what are they called? They're called tiers, not townships. They're called tiers. The 6 mile strip run across. the state. And the number consecutively by direction, going this way. This will be tier 1 north, tier 2 north, tier 3 north, tier 1 south, tier 2 south, tier 3 south, tier 4 south, and so on. So this 6 mile square piece of land within intersecting meridians and clear lines, this 6 mile strip of land, what is called? What is 6 mile strip of land is called? It's called a township. It's a township. 6 miles by 6 miles by 6 miles by 6 miles. It's called a township. And I could identify that township. Very easy to do. So how do we start with the meets and bounds method, class? We start with, how do we start? North or south, then go? Very same thing we do here. This one is tier 2 north, range 3 west. Same concept. So I know my land can be somewhere in this township. What it means, 2 tiers north of the baseline, 3 ranges west of the principal meridian. So we're getting on to beginning from bigger part to a smaller part. But this is 6 miles square. So what are you starting for there? In every township, they decide to draw these imaginary north-south lines and east-west lines. Every mile. Every mile. And these little squares are known as, they're known as sections. Section is within a township. And they had to number these sections. So how do you think this chart is numbered in sequence? Remember, in the meets and bounds, what we do? We start where? We start where? North. Right? We start north. And where the sun rises? The sun rises in the east. So where does section 1 will be? That's the concept. Sun to the north. Always north, always east. Because that's how the earth functions. It rotates from north to south. And east goes to the west. That's why 1 is always in the northeast. And from east you go where the sun sets. There you go. And then from north you go. And that's the numbering sequence. That's how it's developed, based on how the earth functions. Then they go crazy and say, okay, I'm gonna put this on north and go right across. The foundation is always start north and then you go south. Sun rises in the sets in the west. Because the earth rotates this way. And that's how we basically identify the section. But seeing that the earth is round, basically, what they did, every 24 miles, they have to correct for the earth's curvature. After 24 miles. Because the earth is round, and these are all squares. So every 24 miles, there is a correcting line. And that 24 miles square of land is 24 miles square is known as a check. And the check is formed by correcting lines to correct for the Earth's curvature. Because we're putting squares around surfaces, therefore we have to make that adjustment because the Earth is round and this is a square. So whatever correcting line are parallel, that they make that correction for the Earth's curvature, those two lines, north and south and east and west, form a check. So a check has 16 townships. And it's 24 miles square. That's your check. So, let's look at some questions. See that you understand the concept. Question says, which of the following government survey legal descriptions is closest to the Tallahassee's principal meridian? So let's plot it on my grid system here. It says Tier 2 north, Tier 2 south, Range 3 east. Tier 2 south, Range 3 east. Tier 1 north, Range 4 west. Here. Tier 2 north, Range 2 east. Here. And number 4 said Tier 4 south, Range 1 east. Yeah. So what do you think is the correct answer? If you say C, you're not reading the question. That's the meridian. It didn't say close to Tallahassee, did it?
No.
When you guys see Tallahassee, you stop reading, did you?
Took my glasses off.
Right? Read your question. Difference between a center 4 and a center 5. Right? That. Because if you look at it, range 1 east, your ranges is closest to the principal meridian. Ranges are formed from your principal meridian. That's closest. That's why you ask you those questions. That's the next question. The southwest corner, section 31, Tier 1 north, range 4 east is how many miles from Tallahassee? Well, section 31 is here. Tier 1 north, range 4 east right here. That's the section 31 right here. Where would I find the southwest corner? Well, if you section have the own directions, north, south, east, west. Here's my southwest corner right here. How many miles from here to here? To be 6. First range, 6. The second range, and it's right to the border. 6. The third range, how many miles? There you go. If the question says the southeast corner of that section, how many miles from Tallahassee?
24.
No, not 24. It'd be 19 miles. Right here. If I says the southwest corner of the same section. Southeast corner, how many miles? It'd be 19 miles. Because each section is 1 mile across. Right? Each section is 1 mile across. So, your sections, just did it here. The township has 36 sections. And it's 1 mile by 1 mile. And a square mile is 640 acres. We did this on Friday, how we do. Divide your sections into smaller parts by quarters or halves. Divide like crazy. Fine. Whatever it is they give you, divide. We did a couple of them on Friday. And that's basically what it's going to ask you. But they ask you something looking like this. That's your number sequence. We did that on the whiteboard. I'll tell you why we did it that way, how they came up with that numbering sequence. So, question says, what section is immediately due west of section 18? Yeah? Go over here. Let's put this over here. So what is west of 18? Gotta be 13 of the next range. 18 borders 13, 7 borders 12, 6 borders 1, 30 borders 25, 31 borders 36. That's how they ask you questions in the state exam. Right to the border. To make sure you understand, you go to the next section in the next range or above or below. Those are the questions you get in your exam to make sure you understand the concept. And that is your government rectangular survey system and how we describe properties in the state of Florida. Finally, your plat map method. And the plat map, basically, we did it on Friday or yesterday when I did the planning commission. The lot and block plan is when the developer submits a plat map to the planning commission for approval. And once it's approved, it becomes a type of legal description. You have a lot number and a block number in a plat subdivision recorded in the public records known as. And that's the third method of describing the property. Or the plat map method only for platted subdivisions, not any other types of property located in a non-subdivision type of area. Did that? Check. You need to know these measurements. I check one more time. It's 24 miles square that has 16 townships. Township is 6 miles square that has 36 sections. A section is 1 mile square that has 640 acres. And know the measurement of an acre is 208.71 feet square, 43,560 square feet, or know this number. 1/640th of a section is also an acre. 1/640th of a section is also a description of an acre. Those are 3 descriptions of an acre you need to know. 43,560, 208.71 feet square, 1/640th of a section. So let's go to your final questions before we go for lunch. Let's go to question 405. Question 405. What is the best description of a township? The best description is 6 miles square that has 36 sections. You put that sometime in an exam. 6 miles square, not 36 square miles. No, 6 miles square is 36 square miles. 6 miles square is a perfect square that has 36 sections. 407, which of the following is equivalent to an acre? All the above. All the above is equivalent to an acre. 408, how many townships are in a check? 16 townships. A check has 16 townships. A check has 16 townships. 24 miles square that has 16 townships. And question 410, where is section 33 located within a township? Always south. There's no east or west. It's always south. From north to 1 to 6 is always north. From 7 is always south. 7 to 36 is always south. It's only north and south. There's no east and west when it comes to actual sections. Going from north to south. There's no east and west. Here, always go south. Gives you 0 points. Always remember that.
Where do you divide the township from north to south?
Okay. From 7 right through to 36.
Let's say that they ask you for the 21.
1 is always north. 6 is always north. 7 is always. 36 is always. That's it. 1 to 6 is always north. You go from northeast to southeast, to northwest. Then you go south. Always north to south. No east and west. Okay, folks, let's go for lunch. See you back here.